Divine watchfulness is not a gaze that searches for mistakes. It is a presence that never leaves. Many hearts fear being seen by Allah, imagining distance, judgment, or pressure. Yet, the truth is far more intimate and far more merciful. To be watched by Allah is to be held within an awareness that anticipates your needs before you speak them, shields you before you sense danger, and guides you before you lose your way. When this watchfulness is active in a servant's life, existence begins to align quietly. Events stop feeling accidental, delays reveal intention, loss uncovers protection. Even moments of confusion carry hidden instruction. Slowly the heart awakens to a profound certainty. It has never been moving through life alone, not even for a single breath. One of the clearest and most subtle signs that Allah is watching over you is guidance that happens without struggle, argument, or announcement. You make plans with sincerity. You set intentions. You imagine a certain direction for your life. Yet, without force, that direction quietly changes. A door closes that you expected to walk through. A situation dissolves before you can commit to it. A path that once seemed certain suddenly feels inaccessible. This redirection does not arrive with drama. It arrives gently, almost unnoticed. This experience often feels like frustration. The heart questions why effort did not lead to an outcome. The mind searches for reasons, sometimes blaming timing, people, or personal weakness. There can be disappointment, confusion, and even doubt. Yet what feels like obstruction is often protection already in motion. Divine watchfulness rarely announces itself as mercy in the moment. It allows the heart to mature enough to recognize it later. Allah's guidance in this form does not overpower your will. It does not force you against your nature. Instead, it rearranges circumstances so that certain choices slowly lose momentum. You are not pushed away violently. You are eased away. Motivation fades, interest weakens, opportunities quietly disappear. This is not a loss. It is redirection that preserves the heart. Often, you are being guided away from what would have drained you emotionally, spiritually, or morally. Some paths look beneficial on the surface, but require compromises that would slowly erode your inner balance. Some relationships appear supportive, but would have exhausted your energy over time. Some ambitions promise growth, but would have hardened your heart. Allah watches over you by preventing these slow forms of harm before they ever take root. Another aspect of this steering is timing. You may be ready emotionally, but not inwardly prepared. Or you may desire something sincerely, but the consequences of receiving it too soon would have overwhelmed you. In such cases, guidance appears as delay rather than denial. The heart is slowed not to punish it, but to protect it from collapse under weight it is not yet meant to carry. What makes this sign powerful is that it preserves your dignity. You are not publicly stopped. You are not humiliated. The path simply becomes unavailable. Circumstances shift naturally. People change. Conditions evolve. From the outside, nothing dramatic seems to have happened. From the inside, however, a quiet rescue has taken place. Clarity begins to form. The heart looks back and sees what it could not see while standing inside the moment. You recognize how close you were to something that would have cost you peace, clarity, or faith. You realize that what felt like disappointment saved you from regret. Gratitude replaces confusion. Trust replaces resentment. This kind of guidance teaches the heart to rely without fear. You learn that not every closed door is rejection. Some are precision. Allah does not merely guide by granting wishes. He guides by shaping journeys. And often, The greatest mercy is not being allowed to walk a road that would have wounded you in ways you could not yet imagine. When Allah watches over a servant, harm is often prevented before it takes form. Words you almost spoke remain unsaid. Decisions you almost made dissolve before becoming real. Moments that could have altered your direction never arrive. This unseen care operates quietly, without demanding recognition. It does not require your awareness to function. The heart that recognizes this sign becomes less anxious about outcomes. It learns to trust redirection. It stops clinging desperately to specific results. It understands that guidance is active, even in stillness. Movement is not the only sign of progress. Sometimes being stopped is the progress. This realization brings a deep sense of safety. Life no longer feels like a constant test of control. The heart understands that it is being guided, even when it cannot see the hand guiding it. This does not remove effort or responsibility, it removes panic. You still strive, but you no longer fear being abandoned to your own choices. Divine watchfulness in this form is subtle, compassionate, and precise. It protects the heart from paths that would have damaged it quietly. And when the heart finally understands this, it does not ask why a door closed. It thanks Allah for closing it before harm could take shape. One of the quiet signs that Allah is watching over a heart is a gradual change in what brings comfort. Things that once felt exciting, fulfilling, or validating begin to lose their sweetness. This shift often arrives without explanation. There is no clear reason why something that once mattered so deeply now feels empty or insufficient. The heart simply no longer settles there. This change can be confusing at first, especially when nothing outwardly seems wrong. This loss of comfort does not happen suddenly. It unfolds slowly, almost imperceptibly. A habit that once brought relief starts to feel heavy. A goal that once motivated you no longer stirs the same energy. Conversations that once felt engaging begin to feel hollow. The heart does not reject these things aggressively. It simply stops being nourished by them. This subtle withdrawal is not accidental. It is refinement in motion. Often, this stage is accompanied by restlessness. You may feel dissatisfied without knowing exactly why. There can be a sense of inner discomfort, as if something is missing, yet nothing obvious can replace it. Many people mistake this feeling for ingratitude or weakness. They try to force themselves to enjoy what they once enjoyed. But the heart resists. It has already begun to move beyond what no longer serves it. This discomfort is not punishment. It is protection. Allah does not allow the heart He watches over to remain attached to what would slowly harden it, distract it, or keep it stagnant. If sweetness remained in places that were no longer aligned with your growth, the heart would settle there permanently. It would stop moving. It would stop seeking what is higher, deeper, and more real. By removing comfort gently, Allah keeps the heart from becoming trapped. This removal is merciful, even though it may not feel so at first. The heart is being loosened from attachments that once served a purpose but are no longer meant to remain. Growth requires release, and release often begins with dissatisfaction. This process also protects the heart from false fulfillment. Many forms of comfort feel good in the moment, but quietly drain meaning over time. They distract without nourishing. They soothe without strengthening. When Allah watches over a heart, He does not allow it to mistake distraction for peace indefinitely. He slowly lifts the veil, allowing the heart to sense the emptiness beneath the surface. As this happens, the heart becomes more sensitive. It begins to notice what truly nourishes it and what merely numbs it. The contrast becomes clearer. Superficial comforts lose their appeal. Deeper sources of meaning begin to call quietly. This calling may not be loud or clear yet, but it is present. There is also humility in this stage. The heart realizes that what it once depended on was never enough on its own. This realization can feel unsettling, but it is also liberating. Dependence begins to shift. The heart becomes less reliant on external validation, excitement, or control. It starts to seek stability elsewhere. This loosening of attachment does not mean that enjoyment disappears from life. It means that enjoyment is reordered. The heart learns to enjoy without clinging, to appreciate without depending, and to engage without being consumed. This balance protects the heart from collapse when circumstances change. Sometimes, this sign appears as boredom with things that once defined your identity. Roles, labels, or achievements that once gave you a sense of worth begin to feel limiting. The heart resists being confined by them. This resistance is a form of care. Allah does not allow the heart to shrink itself to fit spaces it has outgrown. The restlessness that accompanies this stage is often misunderstood. People may try to silence it through distraction or indulgence. But restlessness here is not noise to escape, it is a movement. It is the heart preparing to shift towards something more aligned. If listened to gently, it becomes guidance. Clarity begins to emerge. The heart understands why comfort was removed. It sees how remaining attached would have delayed growth or deepened imbalance. Gratitude slowly replaces confusion. What once felt like loss reveals itself as freedom. This sign teaches the heart an important lesson. Not every loss of comfort is a loss of care. Sometimes it is the clearest evidence of care. Allah watches over the heart by refusing to let it settle where it should only pass through. When the heart recognizes this, it stops chasing old sweetness. It becomes open to new forms of fulfillment, ones rooted in depth rather than habit. This openness marks a turning point. The heart is no longer driven by what once satisfied it. It is being prepared for what will truly sustain it. Discomfort becomes a doorway rather than a burden. It signals that the heart is alive, responsive, and being guided. And when the heart finally understands this, it no longer asks why comfort was taken away. It trusts that what remains ahead will be truer, deeper, and far more sustaining than what was left behind. One of the clearest signs that Allah is watching over a servant is the way correction takes place. Instead of being exposed publicly, embarrassed openly, or broken through harsh consequences, guidance arrives quietly from within. The heart begins to feel resistance before wrongdoing turns into damage. A subtle hesitation appears. An unease settles. Something inside you signals that a step you are about to take is not aligned, even when no one else would notice, and no rule seems to be broken. This inner resistance is not fear, and it is not anxiety. It is awareness forming before harm has the chance to shape itself into reality. Allah teaches the protected heart early, at the level of intention rather than outcome. Instead of allowing mistakes to grow loud enough to require public correction, He adjusts the heart privately. This is a form of mercy that preserves dignity while still guiding growth. Many people only learn through consequences. They move forward until life forces them to stop. Exposure, loss, or humiliation becomes the teacher. But when Allah watches over a servant, He often spares them this path. The lesson arrives quietly, internally, long before damage becomes visible. The heart is taught gently, so the circumstances do not have to teach harshly. This inward correction often shows itself as a loss of enthusiasm for something that once felt appealing. You may still have the opportunity, the permission, or the ability to proceed, yet something inside you no longer agrees. The heart withdraws its energy. Motivation fades. What once felt exciting now feels heavy or unsettled. This is not indecision, it is refined. Sometimes the correction appears as discomfort after certain words are spoken or certain thoughts are entertained. You may realize that something did not sit right, even if it went unnoticed by others. This awareness is not meant to shame you, it is meant to train you. Allah sharpens the heart's sensitivity so it can recognize misalignment early. This process protects the servant from repeated harm. When correction comes from within, mistakes become smaller, easier to correct, and less damaging. The heart learns without being wounded deeply. Growth happens without collapse. This is the sign of divine care operating at a precise level. Another aspect of inward correction is conscience that becomes clearer over time. You begin to recognize subtle shifts in intention. You notice when sincerity weakens or ego quietly enters. These realizations do not come with panic. They come with calm recognition. The heart becomes an honest witness to itself. This honesty is not harsh, it is merciful. When Allah watches over someone, He does not allow their heart to drift far before calling it back. The call is gentle, a thought, a pause, a feeling that something is off. This call prevents the heart from needing to be pulled back forcefully later. Correction becomes a dialogue rather than a punishment. This inward guidance also preserves relationships. Instead of conflicts escalating publicly, the heart adjusts privately. Instead of words causing damage, silence intervenes. Instead of actions creating regret, restraint appears. The servant is protected from harming others as much as from harming themselves. It is important to understand that this kind of correction does not make a person flawless. Mistakes still happen, forgetfulness still occurs, but the heart does not remain comfortable in misalignment. Awareness returns quickly. Repentance becomes natural rather than forced. Growth continues without bitterness. This sign also brings humility. When correction happens inwardly, the servant recognizes that guidance is a gift, not a personal achievement. They see that without this care, they could easily fall into error like anyone else. Gratitude replaces pride. Dependence deepens. Many people fear being seen by Allah because they imagine exposure. But this sign reveals a different reality. Allah watches over the servant by protecting them from exposure when possible. He teaches privately so that dignity is preserved and the heart remains soft rather than defensive. This inward correction builds trust. The heart learns that it will not be abandoned to its impulses. It will be guided, restrained, and redirected gently. This trust allows the servant to move through life without constant fear of failure. Even when unsure, the heart knows it will be corrected before harm becomes severe. This is one of the most intimate forms of divine watchfulness. Allah does not wait for mistakes to become visible disasters. He educates the heart quietly, patiently, and continuously. The servant is shaped from the inside out, where real change lasts. When the heart finally recognizes this sign, it stops resisting correction. It listens more closely. It respects inner hesitation. It understands that these subtle signals are not obstacles but safeguards. Allah watches over the servant by teaching the heart first, so the world does not have to teach later. This is not exposure. This is protection. and it is one of the clearest signs that divine care is actively present in a life. One of the most misunderstood signs of divine watchfulness is delay. In a world that celebrates speed, movement, and visible progress, being slowed down can feel like failure or neglect. You look around and see others advancing, achieving milestones, and receiving what you have been waiting for. Meanwhile, your own path seems paused. Plans take longer than expected. Answers do not arrive quickly. Momentum feels interrupted. Yet when Allah watches over a servant, progress is often measured differently. Delay, in this context, is not denial. It is protection disguised as patience. When Allah intends to preserve a heart, He does not rush it into spaces it is not yet ready to carry. Some forms of success come with weight. Some opportunities demand maturity, stability, and inner strength. Without these, what looks like a blessing can become a burden. Allah slows the servant not to withhold goodness, but to prepare the heart to receive it without breaking. During this pause, something essential begins to form quietly. Patience deepens, not as forced endurance, but as understanding. The heart learns how to remain steady without immediate reward. This steadiness becomes a foundation that will later support growth. Without it, progress would be fragile, easily shaken by pressure or comparison. Intentions also become clearer during delay. When movement stops, the heart has time to examine why it wants what it wants. Motivations that were once mixed begin to separate. The desire to be seen, praised, or validated slowly loses strength. What remains is a quieter, more sincere intention. This refinement is necessary. Pure intention carries strength that ambition alone cannot sustain. Reliance also shifts during this period. When plans move quickly, it is easy to believe that effort alone is responsible for success. Delay removes this illusion gently. The heart realizes its dependence more clearly. Control loosens. Trust begins to form. This trust is not passive waiting. It is an active acceptance that timing has wisdom beyond immediate understanding. Many people collapse not because they were denied progress, but because they were given it too soon. Premature success can expose weaknesses that have not yet been healed. It can amplify ego before humility has taken root. It can overwhelm the heart with responsibility it does not yet know how to carry. Allah watches over the servant by preventing this collapse. He slows what would otherwise arrive too early. Delay also teaches the heart how to exist without constant affirmation. When nothing external changes, the heart is forced inward. It learns to draw stability from something deeper than achievement. This inward anchoring is one of the greatest protections a heart can receive. It ensures that when movement resumes, the servant is not defined solely by outcomes. Comparison often intensifies during delay. Seeing others advance can awaken envy, doubt, or self-judgment. Yet these feelings, when observed honestly, become teachers. They reveal attachments that need loosening and expectations that need reordering. Allah allows this exposure not to shame the heart, but to heal it. What is seen clearly can be corrected gently. Another hidden gift of delay is discernment. The heart becomes better at recognizing what truly matters. Noise fades, urgency softens, choices become more thoughtful. The servant learns that not every open door must be rushed through. Timing becomes as important as opportunity. This discernment protects future decisions. Delay also builds resilience. Waiting strengthens the heart's capacity to endure uncertainty without panic. This capacity is crucial for long-term stability. A heart that cannot tolerate waiting will struggle to sustain success. Allah prepares the servant for continuity, not just arrival. The heart begins to sense that delay itself is active. It is not empty space. It is a workshop where character is shaped. Quiet lessons are taught. Weaknesses are softened. Strength is distributed evenly rather than concentrated in one fragile area. This inner construction is slow because it must last. When movement finally resumes, it often feels different. There is less desperation, less fear of loss, less need to prove. Progress unfolds with calm confidence rather than urgency. The servant moves forward carrying depth rather than pressure. Those who experience delay often recognize its value only later. Looking back, they see how unprepared they once were for what they desired. Gratitude replaces resentment. The pause reveals itself as precision. What felt like being held back was actually being held together. This sign teaches a powerful truth. Speed is not always mercy, and waiting is not always hardship. Sometimes, Allah watches over you by slowing your steps so your heart can grow strong enough to walk the path ahead without breaking. Delay becomes a shield, patience becomes preparation, and depth becomes the true progress being made. One of the most subtle yet powerful signs that Allah is watching over a servant is the way humility grows without being forced. This humility does not come through humiliation, failure, or loss of worth. It comes through awareness. You begin to recognize your limits naturally. You see where your strength ends and where your need for guidance begins. This recognition does not diminish you. It steadies you. In a world that constantly encourages self-sufficiency and control, dependence is often misunderstood as weakness. Yet the heart that is watched over by Allah learns a deeper truth. Dependence does not collapse, it is alignment. When the heart knows where its strength truly comes from, it stops exhausting itself by pretending to be self-sustaining. This realization brings relief rather than insecurity. This awareness often develops quietly. You notice that outcomes do not always follow effort. You see that intention alone does not guarantee results. You begin to recognize moments where you were carried rather than capable, protected rather than prepared, guided rather than clever. These realizations do not strip confidence. They place confidence in the correct source. As dependence becomes clearer, arrogance loses its grip. The heart no longer feels the need to claim credit excessively or defend itself aggressively. Success does not inflate the ego because the heart understands how many unseen factors made it possible. Failure does not destroy self-worth because the heart knows it was never alone in carrying responsibility. Balance emerges where extremes once existed. This awareness also refines decision-making. When you know your limits, you ask for help sooner. You seek guidance more readily. You pause before acting impulsively. This does not slow life in a harmful way. It prevents unnecessary damage. Many mistakes occur not because of bad intentions, but because limits were ignored. Allah protects the servant by keeping these limits visible. Dependence also deepens sincerity. When the heart knows it relies on mercy, it stops negotiating faith based on outcomes. Worship becomes less transactional and more truthful. Prayer becomes less demanding and more trusting. The heart approaches Allah not as a negotiator, but as a servant aware of its need. This shift strengthens the inner relationship that sustains everything else. Another important effect of this awareness is emotional stability. Arrogance creates fragility. It cannot tolerate uncertainty or error. Humility creates resilience. It accepts learning, correction, and growth without collapse. When Allah watches over a servant, He does not allow false strength to harden the heart. He replaces it with grounded strength, rooted in realism and trust. This awareness also protects relationships. A heart that knows its dependence listens better. It argues less. It seeks understanding rather than dominance. Pride dissolves quietly, making space for compassion. This does not make the servant passive. It makes them principled without being rigid. Dependence also reframes success. Achievements are enjoyed without becoming an identity. Losses are felt without becoming defined. The heart remains intact through change because it is not built on illusion. Awareness acts as a stabilizing force that keeps the heart upright during both ease and hardship. This awareness becomes a safeguard. It prevents the servant from drifting into self-deception. It keeps intentions clean. It keeps ambition in check. It keeps gratitude alive. When arrogance tries to form, awareness interrupts it gently. The heart remembers where it stands. This sign is especially powerful because it operates silently. There is no dramatic lesson, no public correction, no visible turning point. The heart simply grows more honest with itself. It becomes easier to say, "I need help, I don't know, and guide me." These words do not weaken the heart, they protect it. Allah watches over the servant by keeping them close to reality. Reality is where growth happens. Illusion is where collapse begins. Awareness of dependence anchors the heart in truth, where mercy flows freely and guidance remains accessible. When the servant recognizes this sign, gratitude deepens. They realize that being kept aware of their need is not limitation, but mercy. It keeps the heart open, receptive, and teachable. It prevents false independence from hardening into isolation. Dependence becomes strength. Awareness becomes protection. And humility becomes the quiet evidence that divine watchfulness is actively shaping the heart, not to make it small, but to make it stable, sincere, and safe from the dangers of its own illusions. One of the most profound signs that Allah is watching over a heart is the presence of calm, even when clarity is missing. Many people believe peace comes only after questions are answered and situations are resolved. Yet the watched heart experiences something different. It remains steady even while uncertainty persists. You may not understand why certain doors closed, why timing shifted, or why outcomes unfolded in unexpected ways. But beneath the questions, there is a quiet sense of stability that does not collapse. This calm does not come from having everything under control. In fact, it often appears precisely when control is no longer possible. Plans change, expectations dissolve, the future feels unclear. Yet, instead of panic, something deeper holds the heart in place. This steadiness is not ignorance or avoidance. It is trust forming silently, without needing explanation to survive. When Allah watches over a servant, He does not always remove the unknown. The unknown serves a purpose. It stretches the heart beyond dependence on understanding alone. If certainty were always given, trust would never mature. The heart would rely only on visible proof. By allowing unanswered questions to remain, Allah trains the heart to rest without guarantees. This rest is a form of protection. The calm that appears in this stage is subtle. It may coexist with concern, curiosity, or even sadness. It does not deny emotion. It simply prevents emotion from overwhelming the heart. You may still feel unsure, but you are not undone by it. You may still wish for clarity, but you are not desperate for it. This balance is not self-generated, it is sustained. Many people fear uncertainty because it makes them feel unsafe. The watched heart experiences uncertainty differently. It feels held even while not knowing. This feeling is difficult to describe, but unmistakable once experienced. It is as though the heart senses that while details are hidden, direction is not lost. While the path is unclear, guidance is present. This calm also changes how the heart relates to time. Instead of racing ahead to demand answers, it learns to wait without agitation. Waiting no longer feels like being stuck. It feels like being carried through a process whose wisdom will reveal itself later. This waiting strengthens patience in a way that forced endurance never could. Another important aspect of this sign is resilience. When calm exists without answers, the heart becomes less fragile. It no longer depends on immediate understanding to remain upright. Shocks are absorbed rather than amplified. Disappointments are processed rather than internalized. The heart bends without breaking because it is anchored somewhere deeper than circumstance. This anchoring does not mean the heart stops seeking clarity altogether. It means the search is no longer frantic. Questions are held gently rather than urgently. The heart trusts that answers will arrive when they are meant to, not when anxiety demands them. This trust protects the heart from exhausting itself through constant speculation. Often, this calm appears after periods of struggle. The heart has tried to understand, analyze, and control, only to realize its limits. When effort reaches its edge, surrender begins naturally. This surrender is not giving up. It is letting go of the belief that understanding must precede peace. Peace arrives first. Understanding follows later. The watched heart also begins to notice that some clarity arrives only in hindsight. Looking back, moments that once felt confusing reveal their purpose. This memory strengthens trust in present uncertainty. The heart remembers that what was once unclear eventually made sense. This memory becomes a quiet reassurance during current ambiguity. Calm without answers also refines reliance. The heart learns to lean on mercy rather than certainty. Mercy is wider than understanding. It does not require explanation to operate. When the heart rests in mercy, it does not fear being abandoned in the unknown. It knows it is being guided even when the direction is not yet visible. This sign protects the heart from obsession. Many people become consumed by questions they cannot yet answer. Their energy drains into worry and speculation. The watched heart avoids this trap. It remains engaged with life while allowing unanswered questions to remain unanswered. This engagement keeps the heart alive rather than suspended. This calm deepens. It becomes less dependent on emotional states and more rooted in awareness. The heart recognizes that not knowing everything does not mean being unsafe. It means being human, guided within a reality that is larger than immediate perception. Allah watches over the servant by anchoring the heart rather than removing every unknown. The unknown teaches trust. The anchor provides safety. Together, they shape a heart that can walk forward without fear, even when the path is not fully illuminated. When the heart recognizes this sign, gratitude replaces anxiety. The servant realizes that peace is not something earned through understanding. It is something given through care. And this care remains present even when clarity is withheld. Calm without answers becomes one of the clearest signs of divine watchfulness. It shows that the heart is being held steady while life unfolds. It proves that safety does not depend on knowing everything, but on being guided by one who does. Perhaps the most reassuring sign that Allah is watching over you is not perfection, consistency, or uninterrupted devotion. It is returning. You may drift. You may become distracted by life, overwhelmed by responsibilities, or absorbed in concerns that pull your attention away from the heart. Yet, despite this drifting, something always draws you back, not with force, not with fear, but with quiet insistence. A thought pauses you, a reminder reaches you at the right moment, a realization settles gently, reminding you of what truly matters. This return does not always come in dramatic ways. Often, it arrives through subtle interruptions. You may hear a verse at the exact moment your heart needs grounding. You may feel an unexpected discomfort with a direction you were taking. You may suddenly become aware that your inner state has shifted and needs correction. These moments are not coincidences. They are signs of ongoing care. Drifting is part of being human. Forgetfulness is natural. Attention moves, priorities shift, and the noise of life grows loud. Divine watchfulness does not demand constant alertness from the servant. Instead, it ensures that forgetfulness does not become permanent loss. You are allowed to wander, but you are not abandoned in that wandering. The path back remains open, illuminated just enough for you to find it again. This return often feels inward rather than external. Circumstances may not change immediately. Life may continue with its challenges and demands, but something inside you realigns. The heart softens. Awareness returns. You remember what you had neglected. This inner adjustment is often more powerful than any external correction, because it restores direction without humiliation. Many people fear drifting because they associate it with failure, but being brought back reveals a deeper truth. Guidance is not fragile. It does not disappear because of distraction. Allah's watchfulness is continuous, not conditional. It does not depend on your constant perfection. It depends on His mercy. The heart that is watched over is not allowed to become permanently lost. Even when it moves away, it does not settle comfortably in misalignment. Restlessness appears. Satisfaction fades. Something feels off. This discomfort is not punishment. It is a signal, gently urging the heart to return to what it already knows. Sometimes return comes through hardship. A situation humbles you, an illusion breaks, an attachment loosens painfully. Even then, the purpose is not to wound, but to redirect. The heart is brought back not because it failed, but because it matters. Allah does not correct what He has abandoned. He corrects what He is still shaping. Return comes through ease. A moment of beauty awakens gratitude. A calm realization arrives unexpectedly. You feel drawn toward reflection without knowing why. These moments are gifts. They remind the heart of its deeper orientation without requiring struggle. What makes this sign especially powerful is its consistency. You may forget many times, yet return keeps happening. You may stray in different ways, yet the callback adjusts accordingly. Guidance does not repeat itself mechanically. It meets the heart where it is. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it nudges, sometimes it waits patiently until the heart is ready to listen. This pattern builds trust. You realize that even when you are not consciously seeking guidance, guidance is still seeking you. This realization removes fear of permanent loss. The heart relaxes, knowing it will not be left alone with its mistakes. Return also refines humility. You stop assuming that closeness is your own achievement. You recognize that every return is a gift. gratitude grows, dependence deepens, the heart becomes softer, more receptive, and less judgmental toward itself and others. This sign protects the servant from despair. Even after periods of distance, the heart is not told that it is too late. The door back is never sealed. Guidance remains active, adapting to the heart's condition. Allah watches over the servant, not as a guard who waits to punish, but as a caretaker who ensures the heart finds its way home again and again. The heart learns something profound. Being brought back matters more than never drifting at all. The journey is not about flawless consistency, it is about relationships. And a relationship that survives drifting, forgetfulness, and return is not fragile, it is strong. When you recognize this sign, fear softens. You no longer panic over moments of distance. You trust the return. You respond to reminders with gratitude rather than shame. You understand that Allah's watchfulness is not momentary. It is continuous, attentive, and merciful. To always be brought back is to never be abandoned. And to never be abandoned is one of the clearest signs that divine care is active in your life, shaping your path quietly, patiently, and with love that does not withdraw when attention wavers. Divine watchfulness is not proven by perfection, nor by a life free of struggle. It is revealed through care that never withdraws. When Allah is watching over you, guidance reaches you before harm hardens, correction arrives before exposure, delay prepares rather than deprives, and return is always made possible. These signs are not meant to make the heart proud, but calm. They remind you that even in moments of confusion, distance, or uncertainty, you are still being held, shaped, and guided. To recognize this is not to feel special, but to feel safe. And when the heart feels safe in Allah's care, trust replaces fear, gratitude replaces anxiety, and life is walked with quiet confidence, knowing that you have never been unseen.